what we're going to be covering is Manifest Destiny. We will cover this twice, and this will be the first one in the 1840s. When we come back in January, we're going to talk about us moving west again. So Manifest Destiny really is encapsulated in this image by Mr. Gast. Have y'all seen this before? Y'all probably saw this in 8th grade, right? And y'all know he's doing two different things with lighting, right? There's a dark side and there's a light side. Hey, which one does the dark side represent? Okay, north, south, east, or west? West. And y'all see what is out there in the west? The mountains. What else? The Indians. And I need a, if I turn off the lights, y'all can see this, but the other people on the camera just didn't have a power outage. Okay. Do y'all see the buffalo here now? And here are the natives, right? And then we see the progression of civilization moving west, right? Right here, what type of people are moving west? Miners. Do y'all see the pick and the shovel? Which we'll eventually talk about why we go to California in 48. We haven't discovered gold, but once we get it in 48, we'll discover gold. And this is why we get the 49ers out in California. Do y'all see the just ordinary settlers moving west? The Indians fleeing. And then y'all see the trail of people. Okay, so this is just the people moving. Over here, what are these people doing who move west? Farming. Do you see the steel plow? So what type of immigrant is moving west? The Irish. Oh. Who is it? Irish or German? The German, because they have what? Money, and our Irish stays where?
In the city.
In the city. I promise there's a test question on that on the next one. Okay. So this is people moving, right? That's people settling. What is going on right here? The railroads are moving out there. Okay, let's look at the angel, right? There's two things that the angel is carrying. A book and a power line. Okay? Do y'all see this book says school book? Have we had this movement just recently about educating? Yes, right? So who do you think that school book is for if we're moving out west? Who? The kids, because y'all know when we do the land ordinance, we're going to set up an area for education. But who else would that school book be for? The natives, because what are we going to teach them? Christianity. We're going to teach them democracy. And so that's the other big shove with Manifest Destiny, is that we could spend American ideals. Do we now have people who are creating American type books with American democracy, American patriotism? And these McGuffey readers are what we're trying to bring out into this area to spread democracy. To who? The uncivilized. Do these people have rights to their land? Will they be in strife when we take them away? Yes, and so as we move west, we're going to see that those titles become in question. We are seeing that we're bringing electricity. We're bringing technology. Do y'all see the shipping and the civilization there? So one of the things is I want you to think, how is Mr. Gast portraying our Manifest Destiny? It's good. Why do y'all say he's portraying it as good?
Because it's light.
There's light coming to the dark. What else? What else is the biggest image in this thing?
The angel.
The angel, and that makes you think of what?
God.
It's divine. It's Christian, right? This is the good thing to do. And so, but we can rebuttal it from the other perspective that it's going to tear up Indian civilizations, right? Okay, so we have the although it's bringing all this other stuff, it's going to do some undue justice to the Native Americans. We'll discover more when we get to January. Okay, so y'all probably saw this in 8th grade, but it's just a really good image to cover Manifest Destiny. So, huh?
Is that the Wells Fargo?
No, that actually, when I get to 49 and when we get to California, I'm going to talk about Wells Fargo going out there because he's going to sell the little pans. And when he sells those pans, because they're such in high demand, he starts his banking industry. And people like Levi Strauss will start their whole Western wear out in California because the miners need it. And another guy that you may know, his name is Ghirardelli.
Oh yes, Ghirardelli chocolates.
He starts in this time period because he was selling food, and then he able to use that money from what he gets from the gold rush to start his whole delicatessens with treats. Okay, we'll talk about that when I get to chapter 18. But, sorry for the tangent. But we're going to see manifest idea is this idea that Providence has sanctioned the right for us to expand the continent. And it's going to happen in the 1840s. And there's several reasons why. One of them, there's good soil in Texas. Who have we seen bring people into Texas? What's that dude's name? Stephen of Austin, right? Which he's going to have a holiday really soon, father of Texas. And again, was it really his land title? It was his dad, but he brings people in here specifically into eastern Texas because of the rich soil, because what has happened to the soil in the Old South? It's been depleted of its natural resources and its fertility, soil butchery. Also, you probably remember from elementary school playing Oregon Trail. Y'all remember when you did your map, you put the Columbian River and the Missouri River out there in that area? Well, that's a rich river valley. People want to move there to be able to farm. We're going to see patriotism. Again, we saw that with that book right here, right? Spread democracy to who? The natives, and spread democracy as we move west. Okay? The next thing is that we needed to take this before foreign powers did. Who was coming in through Alaska who is threatening our dominance in this area? The Russians. Okay? We also see that we wanted to get to the Pacific Ocean to get to new raw materials, and also to trade with Asia, because everybody wanted to trade with China, right? Which y'all discovered last year in world history. This next thing, I know you're not reading chapter 17, but I have to explain what a safety valve is. Okay, so I'm going to give you two types. First off, if you're not happy with AP, is there something else that you could go take?
Yes.
Dual credit. If you're not happy with dual credit, what could you go take? Regular. If you're not happy with regular, what could you go take? Well, before you drop out, there's other options. Okay, you could go to AEP to get accelerated to get out, or you could go get a GED, right? There's other options. Do y'all see that's a safety valve? If you don't like how option A is going, do you have an option B? Option C? D. Okay, so have you started thinking about your colleges for next year? You have your ideal college, A college. Then you have B college. Then you have C college. Then you have D college. And then maybe Navarro, right? Have y'all created a safety valve for y'all? Have a lot of y'all created a safety valve? You have your ideal school, and then your next ideal school. If that doesn't work out, and if that one doesn't work out, you have your next school. So have y'all started your list? Okay, no? Okay. She will be sitting.
That's a whole other thing.
She will be sitting really soon creating safety valves, like this is my ideal school, this is my next school, this is my third school. All right, does anybody want to share their safety valve school? What is the ideal school for someone? No one? Baylor, where else? Ohio State, Buckeyes, okay. Which one?
New York Film Academy.
New York Film Academy, and then you'll have your second ones, right?
Monsters University.
Monsters University, that is a very good school. Your Hogwarts letters won't be in, or neither will your monster letters will be in. Okay, safety valve. So for those of you who want to get into Monsters U, create a new safety valve. Those of you who want to get into Hogwarts, create a new safety valve. Okay?
Read the book.
Okay?
I just want to get the
Okay? So do y'all understand safety valve? Safety valve at this time is that people were living in the East, and was life really good in the East? If you were poor, where were you working at? Factory. But was there a safety valve for the future for you? You could possibly move which way? West, but you had to what?
Have money.
You had to save up money. Was that someone's safety valve? They didn't like how it was going. They save up enough money they can move west. And moving west was always seen as a way for people who were unhappy because of economic conditions or their working conditions, that they had this next option. Okay, just like if you didn't like AP, you have all those other options, right? Just like you ranked your schools, that's a safety valve. Do y'all get safety valve now? Okay. Next thing, we talked about the panic already, how people will go under and they want to move west to start over. And last thing is another reason why we have westward expansion is because of a group of people called the Mormons, which we had someone do, Joseph Smith. They talked about how they were being persecuted, right? And even what happened to Joseph Smith. And this is going to encourage them to get out of the Ohio, Illinois, Missouri area and move to where? Utah, and we will see Brigham Young will be the Mormon Moses that will take them out there. We will see other missionaries come out into this area to at least get them moving to educate the Indians. I'm going to turn the light back on because the screen. Sorry. So for us to get west, we have to actually go back to this map you created, because there is rules that we've established in this area over here that will set up the staging for our westward expansion. So the first thing I have to look at is this territorial acquisition, which happened in the American Revolution. Remember how some states had a lot of land in the West, which made some states who did not have land very jealous, and they did not want to sign the Articles of Confederation. So this land will be then given over to the federal government, and Congress will make rules over it. The first one is the Land Ordinance. And we've talked about this one, where the government is given the land, and they're going to divide up this land, right? And they're going to make quadrants, and they're going to sell it out, right? To pay off the debt. But they also said there's important sections, quadrant 16. They said the sale of that land would pay for what? Schools, okay? But then that would become what of a county? The county seat. That's what Waxahachie is today, because that's where all the government buildings are located. Okay, so y'all remember that from a long time ago? Okay, the next one was the Northwest Ordinance, and this dealt with bringing in states. Remember on the test, y'all flipped these? This is why we have to go back over it, because as we move west, this is going to come back in. It said basically this whole area, a territory will be subordinate to Congress. Once it has 60,000 inhabitants, it could apply for statehood. Okay, this is going to set up westward expansion. But Congress does something here, and it's going to do this every time we get a territorial acquisition, is they're going to make a ruling over slavery. They're going to ban slavery in this area. And as we move west, Congress is always going to come in and do something about slavery. Is that going to inflame the sections? Yes, and we're going to see westward expansion indirectly deals with slavery, but will it ignite the flames that will polarize our sections into the Civil War? Yes. Okay. You know, just bobbleheading it. Okay. So I have to go back through Louisiana. Okay. Y'all remember Jefferson bought this area, right? And he struggled with it, right? Because was it constitutional? We're going to see that Napoleon, the reason why he sells this, because he's at war with the British, right? And he's fearful he would have to give them this. But y'all know from world history that in Haiti, what has occurred? A revolution, the Haitian Revolution with Toussaint Louverture. So there's no need for Louisiana that was going to serve as the food supply to supply food to Haiti. So he sells it, right? And we're going to see that he's fearful that the British might get it. He sells it to America. Jefferson buys it despite his qualms with the Constitution. But this is going to lead to Congress coming in and making a ruling. So it's called the Missouri Compromise. As we get every territory in, there's going to be a ruling on slavery. Missouri right here wants to come in as what type of state? Slave. What would this do to the balance? It would throw it off to tip to the favor of the South. So they create a new state. What is that state? Maine, but Maine used to belong to who? Remember, it was so massive. Massachusetts, y'all kept on wanting to tell me in colonial America that Maine was a colony. Was it a colony? No, but now because they need to balance out Missouri, they're going to make Maine what type of state? Free. Do we maintain that sectional balance? And this is one of the key things. They want to maintain that sectional balance in the Senate so that no one side would have the favor to possibly overthrow what? Slavery in the books. So then Congress comes in and makes a rule right here. This is 3630. They said slavery would not exist. And this is, I say would, because we're going to come to question that later with Kansas. It would not exist in this area because this area right here was seen as the Great American Desert. It received less than 10 inches of rain. Can you farm with less than 10 inches of rain?
No.
No. But eventually down the road, I'm going to have a new innovation that will make this desert like what we know today of Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, those corn states. Okay, now can we farm in this area? Do we possibly need slaves? And this is what's going to bring into question, does this line exist anymore? And so as we move west, is Congress always butting in and making a statement about slavery that will throw this nation into convulsion? Right? We'll eventually come to that, but this is the Missouri Compromise, which we've already learned. Our next one dealt with the War of 1812. Was the War of 1812 resolved with the Treaty of Ghent? Remember that Treaty of Ghent? Did it resolve it? It was a ceasefire. Nothing was agreed to. And so one of our we had two problems with the British. Do y'all remember what our two problems were? They were selling guns to the Indians, and they were doing what? Impressment. So the Treaty of 1818 is what's going to set the 49th parallel as the boundary between Canada and the U.S., preventing the British from doing what now? Trading with the Indians, right? So that one's done. That was Area J on your map. Remember that? Okay. The next thing, we've already seen this with Jackson. Jackson has gone to Florida because there was runaway slaves. We also have issues with the Indians. He's kind of gone crazy. And this leads to us purchasing Florida because the Spanish are away trying to deal with the revolutions in Mexico. But at this time, we give up claims to Texas. We've already discussed this under Monroe. Okay, so now this is officially Chapter 17. Okay, so in Chapter 17, we have an issue between the British and the Americans. And it deals with, y'all, I know your map doesn't have it in color. It deals with these two areas of green. Y'all see this? This is disputed territory between Canada, which is under British rule, and the Americans. Both areas really want this land. Our Maine lumberjacks like this area because it's very wooded. But the Canadians really want this area to build a road because you have to understand the St. Lawrence Seaway, it freezes over. And when it freezes over in the winter, can anything come into Quebec? So they want this area to build this little road. Do y'all see that dotted line? But it would go through this dense forest and they would tear it down. Where are the lumberjacks going to be happy? So now we have the issue between our Canadian fishermen and merchants and our lumberjacks, and it's going to lead to a war. Have we had good terms of war with the British? No, we almost lost the War of 1812, but we had a what? Ceasefire. We almost lost the American Revolution, but we had the help of the French. So this is going to lead to an almost war between the Maine lumberjacks and the merchant fishermen of Canada. And so what occurs is there's going to be a treaty. And this is the Webster-Ashburton Treaty. What basically they decide to do is they're going to take this area in green. The U.S. is going to get the lighter part of it. Canada will get the darker part. Who gets the bigger end? The U.S., right? But the Canadians get their area that allows them to build their road. The Americans get this area that's densely forested, but it's also going to have something later that's going to be important to industrialization, Mesabi iron ore. Okay? Did we go to war? No, we prevented another war with the Webster-Ashburton Treaty, and that's how Maine gets its boundary. In case you were ever wondering about that boundary, now you now know. All right, we've already talked about Texas. Do y'all remember who that guy who had moved Americans here? Stephen F. Austin. He will have his day real soon for the father of Texas, in case you're waiting for that holiday. Beyond Halloween, another holiday to celebrate is Stephen F. Austin being the father of Texas really soon. Huh?
I'll be missing school that day.
It's Sunday.
Well, I'll take off Monday just so I can...
In reverence of him. Okay, but we're going to see that, I was supposed to mention it on Friday, but I'm mentioning it today. He brought people out here, and again, were those Americans who are now living in a Mexican territory following what the Mexican government told them to be as good little Mexicans? What were some of those things? What were some of those things that they said, if you're living in the Mexican territory, you have to be?
A good little Mexican.
What are those requirements? They have to what?
Don't they have to learn the language?
They have to learn Spanish. What else? Be Catholic. Cultural traditions. And also not own what?
Slaves.
Did they follow any of that? So this led to a rebellion. Austin goes down there. They have their own little war. Texas becomes a republic, right? Does the United States accept them under Jackson's administration? What is the fear? Why do they reject him at this time? Oh, 5 slave states. And so now we're in 1844. Okay? And there is an election. I don't have the election up here. You're going to see it in chapter 18 or 19. But let's look at the wall. Do y'all see Harrison? You already know what happens to Harrison. What happens to him? He dies because could he campaign and vocalize his opinions? Because they were trying to make him look like a common man. So he dies because he gives a long inaugural speech without his coat. Did you all wear your coats today?
Yes.
Out of remembrance of Harrison, please wear your coat. All right? So Tyler becomes the new president. He is a Whig, but really is he a Whig? He's a Democrat. So in the 1844 election, Tyler is running. Does his own party even like him? No. He's running against the guy with the mullet. Do y'all see him? Polk? Do y'all see Polk? You can't see with the glare, but there is Polk. Polk is running on a campaign. Texas and fight. 5440 and fight. And let's get to the Pacific Ocean. He's an expansionist. Who are Americans going to agree with, Tyler or Polk, who's saying let's expand America? Polk. Polk wins an overwhelming majority. And so there's Tyler. He is a lame duck. Okay, let me explain what lame duck means. He is okay, so when does the president get inaugurated? That means they get sworn into office. Today we know January, but back then it used to be in March. When does the president get elected at the polls? November. So from November to March, that is the lame duck period. That if you're a president that did not get reelected, you are a lame duck. Does anybody want to listen to you? No. And so Tyler, is he a lame duck? Because he did not get what? Elected. So everybody wants Polk, and Tyler's just sitting there in office. No one wants to listen to me. No one wants to do anything for me. But he realized Polk was popular because he is promised what? Expansion. And so Tyler's like, okay, well, I'm going to take it as a mandate from the people that we will bring in Texas. Wait, was that even his idea? That was whose idea? Polk. He steals Polk's thunder and will bring in Texas by joint resolution. And this is why we get a city called what? Tyler, Texas, out here in East Texas. Okay? And we don't get a Polk, Texas. Okay? Because Tyler is stealing whose ideas? Polk. And so now look at how big Texas is. Why did Texas have to be so massive? So because we're an expansionist, yes, but they were fearful that if Texas came in as all these different states, what would that do to the balance? Throw it off. So they let Texas come in as a massive state, so it's only how many? One. That's why everything's bigger in Texas, because we're trying to balance out the slavery issue. Okay, so I told you Polk said Texas, fight, and then he said 5440, and you're like, what the heck is 5440? This is 5440. Okay, 5440 is where we told the Russians that is the last area they could do. This area right here in the Treaty of 1818, the U.S. was sharing it with the British. But we had way more settlers there because of Oregon Trail, right? Okay, not the game, but actual trail. Okay, people are moving here because of these two river valleys. It is very rich alluvial land. The problem is Polk wants all the way up to here. Who would that lead to a skirmish with? Which is under control of who? The British. Wait, haven't we already almost had a war with them in Maine? Well, we had the War of 1812 and the American Revolution. But war breaks out with Mexico at this time because what have we just brought in? Texas. So he's like, okay, what's more prized? Me getting this or me getting Texas and possibly the West? Texas and the West. So what he decides to do is we will negotiate the Treaty of 1846 that leads to the 49th parallel being the top of this area. We lose this to gain Texas all the way to California. So y'all get why we don't get Vancouver? I know, we just lost Vancouver. Okay. So now we are having issues. Remember, Polk promised Texas. Polk promised the West. Polk promised 5440, but did we get 5440? No, we were a little bit short. And so we have issues with Mexico. First off, Mexico has not paid Texans the $3 million in damages. Also, we are going to send a negotiator down to Mexico, John Slidell, to organize the purchase of everything west of Texas for $25 million. But there is a problem. When Texas comes into the Union, Santa Ana is going to say that the border of Texas is the Nueces River. Wait, does that seem weird?
Yeah.
Yes. That seems weird, right? Because we know the border of Texas to be what? The Rio Grande, right? This river here. But Santa Ana is going to say, out of distress, I had to give that treaty up in the San Jacinto. Remember when he was found? He says out of duress, and then he will not acknowledge Texas being independent. So now we have a border dispute, right? And so Polk is going to send soldiers down here to the border. But the moment the soldiers cross the Nueces, what does Mexico take that as? War. They're coming into our territory. And shots will be fired. This goes before the halls of Congress. And Congress, they get to declare war, right? There's a guy named Abraham Lincoln there. He's saying, show me the spot on American soil that blood was shed. Is this American soil? Kind of is, kind of isn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a patriot, right, this is American soil. Mm-hmm. But if you're a naysayer, is this also Mexico soil? Mm-hmm. What do you think Congress is going to do? Are they going to declare war? She was telling me what Congress was going to do about it. What is Congress going to do? Be like, oh, that is Mexican soil or that's American soil? American soil, and war will be declared. This will lead to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, where the U.S. will get claims to Texas officially as ours. Also, we will gain everything to the southwest, which you did in your Mexican cession. We will only pay $15 million, and we will assume those debts. So Polk accepts this treaty because it gets us exactly what he promised, right? This is 48, a whole year before 49. What have we not discovered in this area? Gold and silver, which we'll eventually do in Colorado and New Mexico. Right? So the Mexican-American War, its significance is that now we have a new area and Congress wants to make an issue over it, right? They want to decide on the status of slavery. So this Wilmot Proviso, it starts with a W, so that tells me automatically it's the Whigs. The Whigs are the North or South? The North. They want to stipulate that slavery would not exist in this territory, which would give the balance favor to the North. How does the South feel about this? They're upset because that would put them with less representation in Congress. And so this amendment will fail. But I want you to remember the Wilmot Proviso starts with a W, so that tells me it's the Whigs, and I flip that W upside down and it gives me Mexican cession. I have a lot of people who have issue with this on the test. But now the South feels that this amendment is leading to siege mentality. That sounds really weird. You have not read this chapter, so let me explain what siege mentality is. You probably have experienced siege mentality. How many of you think your teachers come together and we put all the due dates together on the same day, all the projects and tests? You think your teachers are out there to attack you, and we sit in our little private parties and we come up with these spectacular plans. Mm-hmm. That is siege mentality. This is how the South feels about the Whigs. They feel that the Whigs are coming together along with the abolitionists, along with other people, and they're planning things to attack their very way of life, right? Like what your teachers do. We attack your very way of life because of a guy named Horace Mann. Yes. Okay, so do y'all get what siege mentality is? This puts them over the edge. Okay? Again, this is going to set up our feud that will lead to polarizations between our sections. We're going to see it also provided us experience for the Civil War, and we also grew by 1/3 the U.S. Last thing is, what are we going to discover in California by 49? Gold. And why is gold important to our economy? We can make what? Paper money. Do we want to get this gold from California into our system? Okay, but do we have anything going out there to get it to us fast? No. What do we see? We only have stagecoaches, right? So the idea is that we need to build what? A railroad.
Oh my gosh.
But there's a geographical thing in our way. The mountains. We do not have the invention of dynamite yet. Nobel hasn't done it, okay? We'll get that really soon. So can we get through this mountainous range?
No.
So the idea comes that we need to get this stuff in, but we need to buy a piece of flat land. And this is why the Gadsden Purchase is done. It would bring the railroad down south. Does the South like this? Does the South like this?
Yes.
Yes, because they don't have what in the South? Railroads. We paid $10 million for this little piece of land. Do you think they'd organize this railroad yet? No, but that's a lot of money because we bought all of this in the green for $15 million. Okay? But this is our last territorial acquisition. Okay?